Hello and welcome to the Preferred Contractors podcast, where we give you actionable steps to grow your contracting business. I'm your host, Jordan Harrison. Today, I'm super pumped to have a fellow content creator and somebody who knows the field left and right, goes out into the actual businesses, takes care of those guys, and actually creates content that's going to tell their story and build their brand. So we're super pumped to have Patrick Carr today of patrickcarr.com. Your go-to for content needs. Patrick, welcome, man. We appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate it, Jay. Thanks so much for having me, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So let's get started. Let's talk. I got to know your journey first, and I want you to talk about it from where kind of Patrick Carr show, all the way blue collar media into patrickcarr.com, all this branding, all this content you're doing. Tell us a little about your journey.
Yeah. So, I got involved in the contracting business, the blue collar world through collections, through working with people that didn't pay blue collar workers. So we were going after those individuals. At that time, the company that I was with figured out that there was a big problem with the insurance paying contractors on time, and contractors were constantly having to chase down money. So we went into the funding game. We were funding insurance claims at that point for roofing contractors. I would love to believe that, and in fact, when I started that position, I believed that it was going to be my final job I ever had. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, there were some things that were going on at the top of that company that weren't in line with the way that I do business, and I quit on the spot. I found out some things, and I said, I'm done. And I quit almost 1 year ago. I had no plan, Jordan. I had no idea what I was going to do. I quit on a Wednesday on a Zoom call, basically, and hung up and had no clue how I was going to make ends meet. About 2 days later, I started Blue Collar Media Group, and I had a few clients that I had worked with within the funding side that saw what I was able to do on social media for that company and said, hey, why don't you come do it for me? And that's where the entire thing got born.
That's amazing, man. It makes me think of the day that I quit teaching. I remember that conversation with my principal going, it was the most heartbeating thing, but I'll tell you what, because the education, I didn't align with education anymore and what I want to do with my family. So I'm right there with you. So look, let's dive into the content stuff. Like I'm nerding out on that stuff. So let's nerd out on it. Let's talk about video content first, because video content nowadays is something that is there's a barrier of entry there because people don't want to get on camera, and that makes it difficult, but it's probably the one thing that's going to blow you up. So what does video content mean today in social media driven world?
Yeah, so I think the first distinction we have to make is there's two types of video content. You've got your paid and you've got what I call organic. Your paid is going to be what you see when you see a sponsored ad. You're paying for an advertisement through your Facebook ads account. You're putting your name out there and putting money behind it through a commercial to generate leads for yourself. I look at organic content as any content that's not that. You post it to brand yourself. You post something to educate a homeowner or a business owner. And there's two types of content out there, and businesses need both. So I challenge people out there to really look at not just what you're paying your marketing company, but what kind of content are you creating yourself that tells people who you are, your principles, your values, and what you represent as a company. And then as well, what you do. Not like what service you provide, but how do you do it? Why? Who's your ideal customer? What can you teach, and how can you help make that person's life better? I think those are the questions that oftentimes get overlooked because we're so focused on how can we, what's the ROI that we can get for putting this video out there?
And what, in your opinion, why is it that they struggle, like contractors or even business owners, doesn't have to be contractors. They just struggle with wanting to come up with how to educate or how to explain their process and how to, really show the customer they're different from their market. Why do you think that's difficult for them?
So I think this is the number one question that I always ask any of my new clients. And I'm glad you brought this up. The first question I ask is, what makes you different than other people in the industry or other people that do what you do? What is what we call your differentiating factor? And I'll tell you every time I hear the same thing. My customer service, we put on a better product. Our service cut, whatever it might be. Everyone goes to the same blah, blah, blah. The issue is that everybody else is saying the exact same thing. Your competition is saying their customer service is better. And if you're a customer, what you do is all you hear is noise. One person saying another. So the first thing that these businesses don't do is they don't have a clue what makes them different. And I think that's the struggle right now. And that's why content doesn't get created, is they just think Oh, I put on a roof. Okay. What legitimately is different about that roof that you put on? And if it's nothing, then I can tell you you're probably going to go out of business. And that's where your struggle is. Let's figure out what's different and then start to create content around that differentiating factor. But they don't take that first step to even figure that part out. And I think that's where they struggle.
No, I agree. And what do you guys? I know it like Kyber and for contractors, we have like we take them through a process when we bring clients in on figuring out differentiating process and figure out what makes them different. Do you have a process? Do you go over with your clients to help
Yeah,
pull that out of them?
I do it a pre-production call is what anytime before we step out there, I'm going to create content with anybody. We go through a pre-production process. We need to figure that stuff out together. And I've been on the phone for hours with clients before figuring out truly what it is and really diving deep. Once we figure that out, then we're just creating content around that differentiating factor and going all in on that. I mean, figuring out what you're great at and then, pushing the chips in the middle.
That's awesome. And it's people need that guidance and they need that step and they need that because once they figure that out, it makes sales easier. It makes figuring out who I do a client is easier. It makes the whole process. They're more comfortable with everything they do. So
Absolutely.
question to you is this: why is video okay? Why is it a must for businesses? Like, what is it doing for them?
Well, I think we live in, let me phrase that. I hate cliche sentences. Like we live in a time where, like, come on, man, like, hey, break. What the reason video is more relevant today is because your big time players have finally got into it. 10 years ago, your Budweisers, your Coca-Colas, your big time companies were lagging behind. And you had a chance at that time to make a splash on all these social media apps. And because they didn't have all the big money behind it. But now more than ever, these companies have put their billions of dollars out there. All right. And so people only have a certain amount of attention they can give in the day. There's only 24 hours. And so when people are out there and they've got flooded with different ads, they're flooded with different marketing videos, you've got to do something to start standing out because the attention is being drawn away from your company and Coca-Cola's taking it, Budweiser's taking it, Mac is taking MacBooks or iPhones, they're all taking attention away. And it doesn't matter that they're not in your industry. So if you're going to be relevant, you've got to create video content that garners attention from people so that you can actually have that and then sell your product. But until you have their attention, you can't sell anything. You don't have their eyeballs, you don't have their ears. So in my opinion, it's become more and more relevant to create content because if you don't, you can't have that person's attention to be able to sell.
What things do you give as far as like a consultation or if you're going over, you're in the field, you're coaching somebody up on doing content? Because I ran into this yesterday. They want nowadays when people are shooting the video, and this was the thing, they thought it had to be very professional. I'm like, man, we're on social media. Like the the client and I had a conversation before where he was going off. He was using his hands. He was explaining how they put this fence in. He was doing all these things. And when I got him in front of the camera, it was very professional.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, dude, man, like, talk to me like you're talking to the camera. So, what do you think would make a difference, or how do you go about coaching your clients into, making that difference, get them to attract that attention?
So what I'm doing better now than I used to is having conversations with my clients. I did that this morning. I have a new mortgage a broker that I just brought on, and I work with a lot of different industries. And I told her, I said, we're just going to have a conversation, you and I. And for 20 minutes, 18 of those minutes might suck, but you're going to hit a stride somewhere. And you're going to forget about the camera for a moment. And that's when gold's going to happen. And don't worry about the other 20 minutes or the other 18, because all we're going to do is edit that thing out and we're going to grab the gold that really highlights when you were just thinking about the conversation between you and I. So I try to be a lot more conversational now than what I used to. I used to script things out for people word by word. And I found that what individuals would do is they'd lock themselves into the script. They needed to say the words that were on there or they felt like they had failed. And so I think the conversational piece makes things easier for them to conceptualize.
Man, I needed you yesterday. I will say that I didn't even think about that approach. I didn't think about that at all. We had scripted out not to say the exact things, but to say, hey, we need to say or talk around this subject, but I went ahead and scripted it for you so you had an idea. And I probably screwed that up, to be honest with you, now that I think about it. Because this client could probably talk for hours about his fence. He's so passionate about it, although he's kind of like me. I'm a very dry sense of humor type person. And man, I never even thought about that. So, I'm going to take that. I appreciate you teaching me something today. And I'm gonna roll with it.
The other thing that
So
I try to, I just want one other thing, if it's okay.
yeah,
Going live, a lot of, I've been to some therapy in my life, Jim, let me tell you. And one of the things they teach you, whether it be in, psychology, is sometimes you gotta, if you're, let's say you're afraid of heights, you gotta go to the tall building, you gotta be there. You gotta be there and you gotta face that fear. I find that with clients who are a little bit nervous in front of the camera, that fear is going live. So usually have an Instagram, Facebook, TikTok account. I tell them, we're going to go live. Let's go live with this thing. And what you're going to find is, wow, it's not as scary as what I thought it was. And if I can do it live, then all of a sudden, when we start filming that thing, it becomes a little bit easier. Now, you've got to have the trust of the person that you're working with that can't do it on the first time. But it's a great opportunity to take that fear and that of the unknown away from a potential client.
love it. Love it. I didn't even think about that either. I got notes. I got a notepad right here. I'm gonna write it all down.
Hey, man. Me too. I got my stuff here.
So, let's go over if people are starting their video content journey in their business. What are kind of like the top 3 things they need to focus on first as they get started?
Yeah, top 3 things to focus on.
Or one.
Number one, yeah. So I think number 1 is consistency. I see a lot of people that will create one video and it's tough. It's not easy. They try it a few different times. They're not happy with it. They put it out, they take it down, they do a write-up. They're not sure. It's tough. You do it 2 times, it becomes a little bit easier. 3 times, the consistency of it is what matters, especially when we're talking about that organic content. Organic content is branding. You don't get that from one video. You get it from people consistently seeing what you're about over and over again. The next thing I would tell people is that individuals who want to buy your product are dying to be your fan, not your customer. They want to be a fan of a company. There's a difference. A fan will tell other people about it. And the only way that happens is when they get a chance to know you. And you alluded to it a second ago. Your client was great off camera. Wow, they did like this. People want to see that authenticity. They love it. And I think people get in their mind that I've got to be this professional lawyer, doctor, mortgage broker, whatever it is. Instead, people just want to see that you're human and you make mistakes and you stutter over words and you say things wrong. I mean, there's some real humility in that I think everybody can identify with. So that would be number 2 for me. And then number 3 is I think you've got to be honest with yourself about your insecurities. And I don't think enough people are. I don't think they give credence to how difficult video is. And they bypass it and think, it's just video. I'm okay. No, tell yourself, you know what? I am insecure. I am scared of this. Give it its due. And if you do that, I think it becomes a lot easier to go, okay, this isn't easy, but I'm working through it. And give yourself some damn credit when you do, because it's not easy to do consistently. So if people can do those 3 things, I think they're on a better path.
I love it. And I did have somebody tell me, like, you do really good on camera, man. Like, what is so natural for you? I'm like, you don't realize I started this journey 4 years ago, putting myself on a Facebook Live when I was a band director at a band program. And I was putting myself on Facebook Live. I was literally building a brand for that program so people would know what we did. Like, we were in a small school. We needed money for instruments and all kinds of stuff. So I started building a brand and getting on lives and showing everybody what we did. And so they don't realize I've been doing it for 3 years. So makes it easier for sure.
Absolutely. And you are very good. You've got a great demeanor, a great look, and you calm people down. You bring good information out of them. It's good, man. You got something going.
I appreciate it. And hey, you talk about getting to yourself for a moment. I'm real goofy sometimes because I'm nerdy. I'm nerdy. I was a music geek. Didn't do athletics a lot. And so I recorded some videos this week, content for our Facebook group. And it's a little bit, I try to add some humor in there. So I hope people will like it, but I hope it adds to and engages a little bit more, because I've been stuck in a little bit of professional mode. So
Mhm.
it's okay. I say it's okay to let go, make those funny faces, make stupid jokes, and let people know who you are. So
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
let's get into consistency, because you said that. So I want to come back to that for a moment. How can you stay consistent with your content and not get burned out?
It's a series. What I do with my clients is we develop 3 series with every client that we have. I want everyone to think of Law and Order. It's a popular series on TV. When you tune into Law and Order, you know exactly what you're going to get. All right. You know, it's going to be a drama. There's going to be a crime. There's going to be other. Everyone knows how Law and Order goes. So when you tune in, you know what you're going to do, and that's why people tune in. Same thing with your content. Create 3 different series that you create every single month or every week, depending on how palatable it is for you and how realistic. But every month is fine. I'll give you an example. As we film this, I'm not going to remember the name because he just told me he's going to do it yesterday. Client I was with in Georgia, Hero Roofing, great guy out there, Nick. What I tell all my clients to do is one of the series must be in the community. So you go out in the community and you show yourself in the community. This morning, I did it at an IV lounge with a mortgage broker. With Nick, we did it with a barbecue place in his city last week. And let's just call it Your Hero in the Community is what the name of that series would be. And every month, I would ask that client goes out to someplace in the community and shows themselves in that place. Not for them, highlighting that company, that business, completely about them. It's a free commercial for that person, for that business. And then you put it onto your social media and you tag them and you tell everybody how great and why they need to go there. That business will never forget you. You will identify in that community now. And that is how organic content becomes powerful, because now you've got a series that people are like, wow, you know, this guy's in the community. This business is in the community. They care about our community. So you're not just telling people we're your community provider, you're showing it with your content that you have on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. That's where things get powerful. The second series is educational. You got to do something for the end user. Educate them. Let's just say it was you're a roofer. And I would do like, I don't know, roofing. I'm trying to think of a good name that I haven't used before. Roofing something, roofing reunion, roofing. Something, and what it would be is, let's just say you took a drip edge and you showed them a drip edge. This is a drip edge, everybody. This is what it does. This is underlayment. This is a shingle. This is how gutters are made. I don't care. Whatever question you got that you can educate somebody, educate them on a product. Set yourself up as an authority for people. So education is number 2. And then number 3, a how-to video. Show somebody how to do something within your industry, how to repair a shingle, how to, I don't know, how to file for a mortgage. I mean, whatever it might be. Show people how to do something within your industry that might be simple to you, but might seem complicated or intimidating to them. You do one of those every single month, people all of a sudden get used to what you're doing and it keeps you on track.
Oh, I love it. I wrote notes, man. Like, you're giving me a clinic here today, so I'm loving it. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's fantastic, and I know this will be valuable for any of the contractors listening, any business owners, because some of them just don't know where to start, how to organize it, how to do it, and honestly, I don't think they understand how important it is. And building content out for your business, building that brand, especially on social media, is huge. And to be honest with you, I've listened to or seen on social media a couple of times where some of these massive big companies say they get most of their leads from social media videos. I mean, how crazy
Yeah.
is that?
People don't understand the power of good organic content. You know, not because, again, I think that you've got to be strategic with it. You know, I just used the example of a restaurant or an IV lounge. I'm with a mortgage broker this morning at an IV lounge. They don't seem to go together.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is that when that mortgage broker highlights that company, anybody who walks into that IV lounge moving forward and they're talking about housing, hey, we know a person. And that's where it becomes powerful. You got to think outside the box and use the community around you.
That's awesome. So I want to transition to storytelling here for a minute, and I'm going to tell you a story I caught from one of your YouTube videos or interviews. It was talking about telling your story. Okay, and what I caught from it was you were talking about people that come from nothing. You know, they've got a great story. They come out of it. They become successful, whatever success looks like for them. And then you got
Mhm.
those people who are already successful, or came from, whether it be money, wealth, whatever, and then made themselves even more successful. But it's the middle of the road people that, how do you tell that story? And to me, I'm one of those middle of the road people. We grew up in a comfortable home. We weren't we weren't rich, we weren't poor. Um, have college degrees, whatever it is, and we were mildly successful. But you told the story about to get out of that. Well, I have a really good job. That's to me is success, and get to where I want to go further, and I want to do better for my family. Sometimes it's almost harder in that instance. So I love that story, and I want to share that here because I remember you telling about it. But anyway, so when it comes to storytelling, what how important is it to be able to create stories in your content, and how can you get better at it? Like, how do you get better as you go in creating those stories?
Yeah, the example you just used about the middle class being part of your story. We only think that, well, you know what, I didn't grow up in a house that was divorced and I didn't have to, walk uphill both ways to get to school and shoes that I didn't have. And boy, I don't have that great story like a Goggins or someone like that, like a David Goggins out there with the SEAL team stuff. Like, so, but your story is unique and it's powerful. You just have to frame it in the right way. And so here's how I start to frame people's story. The first thing is to stop thinking about you. How can your story help the end user? All right. How can your experiences in life help that person? Because if you are that middle class, then you probably understand your end customer, which most of the time is going to be a middle class person in some way, better than that person who comes from way up here or way down here. The things that you have gone through in your life are going to be interesting to them because they've gone through the same shit. They've been in that same rat race that you have for 15 years in the corporate world. They've been there and they've worked at a government job. Both my parents were sheriff's deputies. They understand what it's like to be on a fixed income and to worry about that. You've been a teacher, you understand that too. So find out what your story, how it can relate to the end user, not so much focused on how your story and what it means to you. And then I think you can find where you've got something really powerful.
That makes me think of Simon Sinek. You know Simon?
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, what he talks about, how do you help yourself? You start by helping others, and if you're doing it, you talk about doing that in your storytelling is like, how can you take your experiences and help others? You start growing as yourself, and I that correlation there because I watch a lot of his stuff and his content, and I take it in, I share it because I think it's great, and I think I think helping others and putting that first will help you grow. So
Yeah.
I want to talk about your 60-day content challenge you did back in November, December, real quick.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was in there, I was like, I'm going to do this, but I was also creating content for a Facebook group, and I have to say I flaked out on it. Like it was all on me. I didn't put the discipline into it to make it happen because literally I could have done it with my cell phone, 5 minutes, and done it every day. And so that's on me. And that's something I didn't do. So what in doing that challenge, and I know you shared a video, so I just want to share now with our audience, what did you learn from that challenge, and what kind of feedback did you get to kind of improve your own content?
I appreciate you tuning in for that. Even if it was just for a moment, man, I do. And for those people who might not be aware, the 60-day content challenge was a 60-day challenge where I challenged individuals in various communities, various industries to create one piece of content per day, a unique piece of content about themselves, their business, their journey, principles, values, aspirations, you name it. And each day we'd come out with an example video, then they would create a video for themselves, post it on the group to get people used to creating content. Very simple challenge. What it taught me is that people underestimate how difficult it is to create one piece of content per day, a unique piece of content. And I saw 0 people complete the challenge in the 60 days out of 172, I think is what it was created. And I think that, like I said earlier, you got to give this stuff its due. I think people think about video and social media like, not that tough, whatever, I can figure it out. No, give it its due. It's tough. And I think that that's what it taught me is there's a real need out there for people to get real with themselves about why they're not developing content, not telling their story. And it's more than just, I don't have time. It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, and if you run that challenge again, I'm in it. Like
We're
I'm
doing
gonna
next
treat
year.
I'm gonna treat it like 75 hard because I did that and I did that to full extent and I did that better than the content thing. How crazy is that though? You think 75 hard would be harder than putting your phone up for 5 minutes and answering a question.
Right.
I failed miserably at the content and I nailed 75 hard. So I don't get it.
Well, congrats on 75 hard either way, man. Nice job.
Yeah, I need it again though. As soon as my knees and my arms get healed up. So let's wrap up here. I know I try to keep things right at the 30-minute mark because I know attention span is always tough. So I want to kind of leave with one last question here for you as you're all in video content. Where do you see the future of video content going? Maybe in the next, because things change rapidly. So where do you see it going like the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I'm not going to jump into the whole meta thing. I mean, people talk about that all the time. All right, we're going to be avatars in the meta universe, and I believe that that is going to eventually happen. But people oftentimes really overestimate where things are going quickly. I mean, yeah, the last 3 years things have improved, but we're basically in the exact same place. Okay, so here's where I think there's going to be an immediate change across social media that people need to get out in front of: interactive video. If you are not familiar with interactive video as a marketer, as a company, you have a chance to get out in front. Here's what I mean. I think it was Black Mirror. Remember that show, like where you could pick which way you wanted the story to go.
Yeah.
That's where video is going. Interactive video that allows you to tell a story by leading the customer or your client down a road that they want to go down. Hey, are you familiar with my product? Click right here. Are you not? Then click right here in the video. If you just want me to shut up and you want to hear a joke, click my face. It's going there, and you have the technology is available for your website right now.
What company is it does that? Because I was going to say that I know somebody does it. And I'm trying to remember. It's not in video, is it?
No. I have to apologize. I might have to send you a text after this. But I've been using it. I've been dabbling in it. We've been working at it to perfect it. But it's good for websites right now. But as soon as that technology integrates with social media, it's going to blow up.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think those companies that are prepared for that in the next 12 months will be far ahead of where these other people are. So it's a great thing to get out in front of. You could be a first to really use that interactive video and garner some clients.
Super smart. I love it. So if somebody wants to work with Patrick Carr, how do we get in touch with you, man?
Well, PatrickCarr.com, as if I couldn't be vain enough, I'll tell you. So not hard to remember. You go there, you say, there's a button about halfway down, says work with Patrick. There's things you can do. We can do a consulting call. But the main thing that I do, Jay, is I go out there and I go to businesses. I charge a monthly fee of $5,500 a month, and I come to your business every month with my team and generate content with you. Edit that content, deliver that content. We do everything for you to deliver multiple videos, usually 15 videos a month of great content to get out to your team. I do nothing with marketing, do nothing with SEO. Can't tell you how to run your ad campaign. What I can tell you, though, is that when that ad campaign that companies run, when it's successful and someone goes to do research on your company, that they're going to find somebody they want to do business with. And so you'll be able to capitalize on more people that come to your Facebook page, that see your ads, because they're going to feel comfortable and trust what you're bringing to the table. That's where I think things get powerful right there. And I can also help. I mean, if you've got somebody who's definitely afraid of being in front of a camera, let's talk. I love to be able to help people create that content for themselves or to work with a marketing company, help create it for them. Whatever somebody needs there when it comes to video.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Patrick, I can't thank you enough again for taking time. Share all of your concrete, been doing concrete fencing yesterday, all your content knowledge. I appreciate it. I learned today, so I appreciate it. Even being somebody who dives in and is nerding out on content all day long, I still learned something today, and that's what we got to do is always be learning. So thank you again.
I want to say this final thing, man. I very much appreciate you reaching out and doing what you're doing. I know you're trying to reach out to a lot of influencers and great people within the industry. I think you've got something special, a great demeanor. I think your heart is in the right place, as we were talking off camera. And I hope that more people, if there's anything I can do, or my company, the people I work with, to support you, I tell you right now, let me know, and I'm happy to do it, man. You've got it. Your heart is in the right place. Okay.
Absolutely. Likewise. Well, guys, thank you again for listening to Preferred Contractors podcast. If you haven't hopped into our Facebook group, search Preferred Contractors on Facebook. Should be the first one to pop up. And we'd love to have you in there and help you grow your business to the next level. Thank you guys again. Until next time.